Hello again, crypto. Welcome to another weekly Blaze. We've got another fantastic show tonight. First things is Blaze is getting closer and closer. We're down to days, not weeks. We have a special guest tonight as well, DeFi Brian from the Swapsicle protocol. We're going to talk about DeFi, what it's like running a DEX, and just get into a few different conversations about the wider DeFi space. Maybe bring up a little, I think he's likes a little bit of XRP, so that will be in the discussion tonight. And then we're going to also give away another $1,000 worth of ETH. The longer this thing runs on, it's just hitting my back pocket harder and harder as the weeks go on. So that's pushing us on to get this protocol out as soon as possible. So the competition this week was to submit a 30 to 45-second video of why you're bullish on Blaze, and we'll be picking. Well, we've already picked the winner, but we'll be, sharing the winner with the community. So, Justin's in the back there, part of our team. Do you want to bring up DeFi Brian for me, please?
I guess.
Hello, Brian. How you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Yeah, do you want to just quickly tell us a little bit about yourself? Not crypto related, just a little bit about yourself and an introduction.
Yeah, sure thing. So as you guys already pointed out, I'm the former COO of Swapsicle DEX. But previously on that, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, the United States. I went to college in New Mexico State where I played baseball for 4 years. And then upon graduating, I graduated with a bachelor's in business. And I kind of always knew that I wanted to run my own business, be an entrepreneurial, just kind of have that spirit, right? It just, nothing appealed to me that jumped out that said, hey, that's what I want to do next. So as soon as I got back from college, I started working at a gym. Immediately was like, this is not for me. One thing led to another. I ended up in a screen printing and embroidery business for a couple of years. And, it's funny that your idea, when you've never run a business before, you have this idea of what it's going to be like. Oh, I'm the top dog. I own a business, right? And it's so completely opposite of that. It's one of those things where it's like, if the floor is dirty and nobody's around, you don't get paid for that, but it's got to get done, right? So that's kind of where I got my bedrock of, hard work. I've always, with athletics and things like that. But I really started to understand sort of how the world works. And, I'd hear some of my friends talking about, their employees, oh, they're cracking down on me, this and that. And it's like, well, it's because they're tired of doing it, right? Somebody has to do it. So one thing led to another. Again, I get into real estate where I really started to get that, my business and understanding sort of accountability, if you will. When I was younger, I kind of always just thought the world worked a different way. I guess that's probably the best way I can describe it is, there's a drive that you have to have continuously. And I always had an eye for sort of innovation. I always wanted to be on the cutting edge of the next thing. I was like, man, if I could just find the next internet, right? So that was sort of my, driving force of like, there's got to be something out there, right? And I'm trying to make the story short, but I'm in real estate and I've got clients just calling me. And this one client is just going crazy on me. They sign all their documents, but they're waiting outside of their house and they can't close. And I, as the realtor, can't give them the keys until it records with the county. So I'm calling title. I'm like, what is the deal, man? Like, close this house. Well, we're waiting on the funds from the lender to be sent, because they have to wire transfer this, $500,000, $600,000, whatever it is, right? So I said, this is 2017. I said, there's got to be a better way to send money, right? There's got to be a better way to send money. So that's how I got into crypto. Obviously, my first purchase was Bitcoin. It just kind of exploded from there. And then, as you touched on a little bit, we'll talk about XRP. But that's really how I went down the XRP route, was the transfer of money. And, tired of people yelling at me that they got a moving truck and they want to move in their house and the money's not there yet. And I'm like, it's 2017. And here we are.
It's like, yeah, get the money across already. So can I ask then, what age you are, just for me, my own understanding of where you are in sort of business, in your business life?
Yeah, so I'm 34. I graduated college in 2012.
Awesome. And do you still have business interests outside crypto, or are you full-time crypto?
So I'm a futures day trader. I trade with prop firms, my own money. DeFi degen. So pretty much trading is kind of in social media stuff like this. It's pretty much what I'm doing full time now. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. How's the trading going for you at the minute?
It's good. It's good. I don't trade too much crypto. Crypto is more long-term investments for me. I trade more again in prop firms and stuff like that, just because you can leverage your capital so much more.
That was nice. So yes, I've seen, obviously, I read that Medium article. It was very, very interesting. So the former COO of Swapsicle, can you tell us a little bit about your experience of getting involved with that project? Were you in it at the very start? Did you help build it from scratch? And sort of, I want to go into then what part of the journey and why you're no longer the COO?
Yeah. So I was approached in, what is that, early 2021, sort of just as the market started to turn. We had kind of hit the top. And so the project had actually raised prior to me joining with the team. And I had just kind of known some guys throughout the space. And they approached me, hey, would you like to come on and be head of business development? At the time, I was still in real estate. And I said, you know what, guys, I'm super fascinated by it. And I had talked to my CPA and trying to get as much insight as I can, right? Of, can I actually do this? The company's based in London. What are the tax implications? What are all these different things that I have to worry about? And my CPA at the time was just like, don't do it. Well, I'm one of those people, when you tell me not to do something, I immediately interest peak to maximum levels, right? I want to get involved now. So I said, you know what? Let's start me out part-time. So I was with the team from day one, but I was sort of part-time. Yeah, I'll do it in between real estate, this and that. And then I sort of started to get more involved. Real estate took kind of a weird turn during COVID. It was hot and then it kind of slowed down. And I said, the regulations started to pick up a little more. Still wasn't fully clear. And that's sort of why I ended up leaving in the end as well, was that they started it was almost around every turn you thought, this is going to break through, that's going to bring clarity to the space. And we were fully doxed. We wanted to work with regulators and say, hey, this is what we're doing. But it was almost like if you went to them, you were putting yourself on a radar. Yeah. So then they could kind of backdoor you and be weird about it. So it just was not friendly. And I think at the point, I'm very risk adverse in the sense that I'm very calculated on, with trading and things like that, to where I just said the project has its legs, right? If I leave, if we leave, and our former CEO actually became the CEO of the Telos Foundation. So that's kind of what started everything off. And I thought, well, I can't step into a CEO role being in the United States with all this uncertainty and things like that. So luckily, we were able to work with an existing team that was in the space based out of Singapore, which has tons of clarity. And so I still advise with them, but I'm not technically on the team anymore. But it's nice to kind of see, their vision coming in with what we were doing as well. And it'll always be our baby. The three of us, myself, the lead developer, and the CEO previously, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it'll always be your baby, and I'm sure if you guys ever moved on from Blaze or anything like that, you would always have that sense and feeling that, like, man, I just want the project to succeed and the people that are contributed to it. So yeah, that was really the main goal and sort of why I stepped away. It was just kind of at a time where it was like, do I take this thing on full time and this is like my thing, or am I just lining myself up to be an issue with the regulators? Because again, if you're small enough, 5 to 10 million in TVL, regulators don't care who you are. You start getting up into the 100, 500, where you wanted to take this thing. Now, all of a sudden, all that work you did, you just put yourself on the radar, and not saying we did anything wrong, but they're able to go back in and say, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. It's like, well, the rules weren't clear. So it's kind of this weird gray area that just, again, for me with the trading stuff.
When did you actually stop working with the project? Because I'm kind of wondering how it's been getting on since you haven't been there. You started off in 2021. Crypto's been a bit of it's been a bit of a tough ride since 2021. How's the team getting on? Are you glad that you're not in amongst it this last year?
I kind of fully quote unquote walked away in December. And as soon as I left, I kid you not, the market started to rally. I think it was like October 19th, the market started to rally, and it rallied that for like 4 months, 3-4
Yeah,
months, right? And so I kind of just joked like, oh, I was, holding it back and things like that. But the market goes in cycles. It always has. The DeFi summer, a lot of that can be attributed to, yes, people were excited to get involved in DeFi, but also Ethereum was ripping at the time.
yeah, yeah,
And you have to constantly remind people that, they're like, the token's down. It's like, don't look at the token, look at the ratio to the altcoin, right? If you're paired with ETH and ETH is dropping, you will drop as well. But are they selling that token? Are they trying to get out of the project, or is the market just coming down on a correction, right? So there's two different things that people need to look at when you're looking at token performance, if you will, right? Sometimes you can outperform, but the token's still not going up. Like right now, they're paired with MNT on Mantle and Telos on the Telos side. So you have kind of two tokens. If Mantle runs, there'll be arbitrage between the Mantle side and so on and so forth. They both run. It's great. But again, it's just markets. And
Are those ERC20s?
yeah, they're all
Mantle?
ERC20s.
Yeah.
And
I was looking at the decks earlier, and I was just, it's very nicely laid out. Very nice.
appreciate that. Yeah, our devs did a phenomenal job. And our whole basis was, let's bring something to the table that people can actually use, right? It's not just a farm and dump token. Let's make it to where you want to hold the token, because then you earn rewards in, the gas tokens on the chain, Telos and MNT and things like that, to where it almost starts to feel like a membership token rather than just how many of these can I accumulate. And yes, it'll go up and down, but we didn't want it to be something where, and we'll get to this too, I'm sure, that you just see a lot of these dexes burn out because they have deflationary mechanisms, but they have the infinite supply, and you're like, you're printing money and it's not doing anything. There's not anything economically behind it or a reason to hold these things, right?
yeah. That
So
leads nicely. That leads nicely into sort of next question. I wanted to ask you. So, what is something that's difficult about running a DEX that the kind of regular crypto investor wouldn't really get? Looking from the outside in, is there something that's more difficult than people actually realize?
yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is keeping the community engaged, because it's not that you should blindly give loyalty to a project because, they gave you a launch or anything like that. But it's more so, I always wanted people invested who were looking into the future to see it grow, right? Of course, there's going to be people that are just out there to farm and dump, farmers and things like that's fine. But if you engage with the community and you see what we're trying to build, I'm okay with that, because it is part of the DEX's responsibility to come up with good tokenomics to make sure that, you're not, inflating the supply. It's all about building an actual project, right? A lot of people, I think, see it as, well, how do I just get rich off of this? And that's fine. Again, I'm not saying don't do that, because that's what DeFi is all about. But
Yep.
make sure when you're researching things, the tokenomics, a lot of thought goes into that, right? Now, I don't think a lot of people think that a lot of that's cookie cutter and you kind of just copy and paste what everybody else did. But the community engagement, the tokenomics themselves, and constantly battling an industry that is ever changing, right? So the minute
Yeah.
you think that you're releasing the next greatest thing, I mean, we were on to what we considered V4, right? So we actually released concentrated liquidity before Uniswap V3. So we had it out before they did, because Algebra, who we integrated, actually supplied the concentrated liquidity in an NFT form as well. It was a different style of concentrated liquidity. And so what we were able to do now, anytime Algebra does an update, it's like the App Store. They're modular, right? So if they release a plugin for limit orders or for, whatever, NFTs, if you're a holder of an NFT, you get a certain fee allocation. You can do all sorts of things now because we basically plugged in an engine that works as an app store. So we don't have to do a V5. We don't have to do a V6. Like, we're done. There's concentrated liquidity, but you got concentrated liquidity management, and all these things can now be plugged into the DEX, and we don't have to relaunch a new token or anything like that. So long-winded answer, there's a lot of things. There really is a lot of
Yeah.
things, and
The
I kind
DEX
of just wanted to
game
give you a
is
glimpse.
yeah,
Yeah,
the DEX game,
engagement.
it's tight.
Engagement's tough.
Yeah, the DEX
constant
game is
engagement.
really tough.
Yeah, I mean, you have so many options, right? And who am I to sit here and tell an investor, hey, you shouldn't take your $1,000 and go put it on another platform? Who am I to say that, right? It's my job, and our job as a project to ensure that the user wants to be there. We're not here to beg out for handouts, right? You got to make sure that you're top of the line. And now I'm not saying put your APRs at 500%, because what I will say, and one thing that we learned, is that the people aren't packing in at 500% APR. There's no point putting it at 600, right? They're either going to come or they're not. You start getting into the 10, 20%. Okay, now it's kind of like I need to offset my risk a little bit.
I mean, obviously, there's so many choice of DEXs, so many choices of chains. Do you see that the DEX game, especially, do you see it as completely saturated, or do you think there's opportunity for many of them to succeed in the next year or two?
Well, anytime you have innovation, you're going to have competition, right? Which is good. You want a ton of things. What you don't want is the scams, sort of the cookie cutter. Like, I'm to the point now when I look at a project, what is different about you, or what is your plan that's different than the existing, right? Because first gen tech usually isn't the winner, right? If you look at the internet, Compaq Computers, Gateway, Motorola, all these companies that existed at one point sort of got replaced by, you either have to be first or you have to be better. I would rather be better, building upon what do people actually want. And when it came to a DEX, we actually launched on AVAX. So we were on Avalanche, Trader Joe and Pangolin, they were trying to duke it out for the one spot. And eventually Trader Joe just kind of ran with it, and really, started implementing the NFT stuff and really started to run with it. And they work close with the Avalanche Foundation. And we said, okay, we clearly, they've chosen their horse in the race. And it's important that you do have, unless you're on Ethereum or Solana, somewhere with a really large user base, you need support from the foundation and work closely with them, to make sure that your goals and what you're building are aligning with what they're building in the background, right? You don't want to be going in two opposite directions. So that was probably the main thing we looked for, was, okay, what's maybe some smaller chains? Like, the reason we like Mantle so much was they were doing a lot of stuff with Eigenlayer, and it was an L2 that actually used their token as a gas token. I never understood Optimism and Arbitrum that just continued to use Ethereum. I said, well, what's the point of having the ARB token? Oh, well, speculation. Oh, okay, I'm out. I'm sorry. It's probably a good chain, but for me personally, what I was looking for was sort of an L2, something that was making Ethereum better, but also had sort of its own thing involved.
What's your thoughts on Matic in that respect?
I liked Matic. I felt like I kind of missed out on Matic. I think I was a little too XRP maxi at the time for when Matic made its run. But I will say this, here's some alpha for you. John Lilick, the guy who basically built Matic and made it run to what it is now the chief director of Telos, which is even faster than Matic. And they're doing stuff with ZK. And I'm telling you, Telos, do not sleep on that blockchain.
Okay, so I actually looked at that. The volume on Telos was like 100 grand or something. Yes, the trading volume, or it was only about 100 grand in 24 hours. What's the story there then? Is it? I'd never actually even heard of it. I had to scroll pretty far down DEX Screener today to find it. What's the story behind it? Or
so yeah, just basically the rundown of Telos is that it is exactly what you guys are doing in your fair launch. Okay, there was no ICO. There was no institutional backers. I mean, this is grassroots. You like DeFi grassroots? Telos is your chain. No team allocation, no nothing. These people have built this thing just because they're like, we want to create the best tech possible in this space. And they just continue to develop. Their team is super smart. Now they've done raises. I think they just did like a $10 million or $20 million raise and stuff like that. But what a lot of people don't understand, and being in the markets and trading the way I am, a lot of the volume people see It's not necessarily wash trading, but there's a lot of arbitrage. There's a lot of institutional money moving on your Ethereums, your Solanas. And I'm not saying that that's a negative. That can be a great positive because there's always liquidity. But don't get that confused with unique addresses. In market makers with bots and things like that, you can create 1,000 different wallet transactions, which is still one person, right?
Yeah.
So you look at even things like Mantle. And again, I'm not saying that this is a negative. I'm just pointing out to people that when you're looking at that 100 grand, that's real 100 grand of people just exchanging value and things like that. There's no institutions on the decks that we know of right now.
I'm definitely going to go and have. I'm definitely going to go and have a look at it. Just the fact that you said about the fair launch, and then I'll go and have a look. You know yourself, we're deep in the crypto. When you're building a project, it's hard to keep an eye on everything that's going on. It's part of why we have this show, that we can get people on and chat about different things. We're very heavily, obviously, in Titanx, Ethereum, Zen, Pulse Chain. You know, and it's you miss so many other things that's going on. But I'll definitely take a look at Telos. But Justin, can you bring up my screen there a second? Can you?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're blockchain agnostic in a way, more like profit maximalists, as long as it's not tribalism. That's one of our ethos. Here you go, Mr. Ali. Here's your screen.
Yeah, I don't know whether did you see this post yesterday, Bram? It was quite interesting, just quite an interesting read. But where is it? 0.3 on it. Was it that? No. Sorry.
Now Miles he's a bit of a Bitcoin maximalist, right? From the post I've seen from him.
I just like this. I had to read through this, and I just liked this post, or this part of the post. Sorry, what were you going to say there? Did you have?
Oh no, I was just saying that a lot of the stuff that I've seen out of him, he seems to be a bit of a Bitcoin maximalist at times. I guess I should follow him a little more.
I only followed him yesterday. I've seen his posts. I kind of flick past most of the time, but just the fact that you were in EVM, in the EVM where we on AVAX, Mantle, Telos, and just this thing that there was a million tokens created in May alone, which whatever it says in this, 2 times the total ever created on Ethereum from 2015 to 2023. What's your take on that? Is there just too much activity, or will good tokens and good projects rise? Will the cream still rise to the top? There's a lot of good builders out there, and will they flood out the noise of these millions of tokens that are getting launched?
Well, there's a reason that saying is as old as dirt, right? Because it does. The cream will always rise to the top. And I don't know if that will be this year, the reckoning, when it'll happen, but there's blatant scams that still exist in this space. There's things, there needs to become a standard. Again, I don't know if it needs to be done through regulation. I don't know if it needs to be involving auditing companies. I don't know what it will be. I have a feeling that, and again, this is just my guess of how talking with regulators, and I'm actually meeting with one of Arizona's congressmen tomorrow to talk about, they've raised some blockchain different bills and things like that. But they want to protect, we want to innovate. And how do you meet in the middle? You're going to have to give something up. What I'm willing to give up is some sort of privacy layer to where, and I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, and this ZK Sync is working on something to where you can do zero knowledge proof that you are who you say you are, but your information is not stored, because that is the key. It's like, if I prove I am who I am and I'm not a terrorist, and I'm not money laundering, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is then my information goes, you look at the ledger, you look at, anytime your information enters a centralized database and people can utilize that information that does not directly benefit you, that's a problem, right? But I also get it from the regulator side. It's like, if we don't do this, then we could be funding terrorism, and we don't know. And I think a lot of that propaganda is used to scare people into giving up their information, more so than just saying, oh, it's for the benefit of all of us. It's
Funny
like,
actually just hearing you. Was it in your Medium article? Was it in your was it there that I read you were talking about the terrorist word gets banded about too often? There's a lot of honest guys in crypto trying to innovate and build good stuff. And you have these Congress people in America saying that even my business partner, he hates crypto. He can't believe I'm in crypto. He hates crypto. And he says it's just full of robbers and scammers. And I'm like, I'm building a project and we've been business partners we've been business partners for 15 years. And he thinks everybody else in crypto is an absolute scammer. But was it your article that you were referring to that the word terrorist gets banded about too often by these Congress people?
it does. It seems like, and again, 9/11 in the United States was a horrible event, but it changed the way policy was written. It changed the way that they influenced the American public into, it was almost like, all right, we need to get something done. We need to get done quick, scare the shit out of them. And they'll vote for the rights away. And it's like, people don't stop to think. It's like what you just said about people saying, oh, it's full of scammers and robbers. I take a deep breath and I remind them that the internet, believe it or not, I still remember my parents. Don't you ever order anything off online. This is crazy. Now my parents have Amazon orders
every day, right?
On subscriptions, right? So you're going to go through these phases and you're going to go through periods of time where, the internet, the early days, you would log on to somewhere, order something, and it would just never show up. They'd take the website down. But we innovated through that. Chargebacks on credit cards and authenticating businesses and things like that. So it's like there needs to be a way where, again, the rules are clear. I show up with my paperwork. It's not a decision by a judge. You have these things laid out, and I say, I did that. And you say, okay, welcome to the United States of Commerce. You're now a business. You can conduct business here. But we don't have that. And the SEC sitting there saying, oh, there's securities. They just need to register with us. Why would I admit to me being a security and register with you if that's not what we're doing here, right? So that's the
it's not legal tender. It's not legal tender.
So where is my regulation to come and say, look, we're good actors. We just want to grow our business legally and everything like that. And it was like, don't even go to them, because you're just going to put yourself on a radar that they're going to then attack you if they run out of things to do.
And of course, like we're talking about, the terrorist word, right, in crypto, and it's shady this, shady that. I mean, there's bad actors everywhere. So let's just back up a second. Before crypto came into play, 2013, Wired magazine introduced Bitcoin, right? How much of the world's terrorism was funded by US dollars? And is it still more paramount than crypto? Hell yeah, it is. Let's get realistic. I mean, crypto just crossed from, it was like a 1 trillion market like a year and 2 years ago. Now we hit like 3.5 because the ETFs, maybe, something like that. But there's no other bigger funding of terrorism in this world than fiats across the globe. So that, it's not this. So they can scare all they want, but people are waking up, and education is a key goal. And we got Hester Pierce maybe moving into the Gensler spot. And she's a very interesting lady, and I hope she pulls it together, for everybody with the clarity and not these gray areas where you don't want to submit, right? You don't want to submit anything to them.
Yeah, we don't, because you don't want it to be used against you. If you came out a little friendlier towards innovation, the way they did with the internet. I mean, a lot of people probably here, and even I was almost too young, but I studied it and I looked, what did they do? And it was all about making sure that China did not become the champion of the internet. I mean, that's what every bill, it was this we're United States. And now it's like, you listen to some of these hearings and things, and you got a guy up there that's like, well, what if, developer gets upset and just turns off Bitcoin? You're like, dude, like, I'm going to need you to come a little more prepared.
Yeah,
because I can't take you serious. Like, either we're going to have a serious discussion on how the digital economy is going to go forward, or we got to get these guys out of office. It's got to be one or the other.
Do you think that time is coming, that Gensler's he's gonna get kicked out soon? And there's, do you think it's going that way? See, for us, we're obviously in the pulse chain community heavy in there. Richard Hart has his court case in October with the SEC. We're all rooting for him, but the SEC just constantly gets beat in all these different court cases. So do you think that it's going to change soon? I'm not even talking about, I mean, do you think it'll actually happen sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I think we're now at the point where we're at a tipping point. And it's funny, I saw a comment down there as well about looking at Saudi Arabia working with China not using the US dollar. I made a post in 2017, maybe 18, getting in a huge argument with this guy. I think he ended up muting me. And I was talking about XRP, and I said that what their goal is, a global commerce. And in a global commerce, you can't have the dollar as the reserve currency anymore, because countries don't. If I'm in China, why do I need to have dollars even on my books, right? And so you're starting to see the narratives of you don't have to buy oil with it anymore. China's dumping their bonds, and everybody's kind of getting situated to where, and even when Trump was in office, he was talking about how China kind of manipulates their currency. Now, look, countries are free to do as they please, right? But the whole thing is like, I don't want exposure to that asset if I don't need to. And the guy, I'll never forget, I'll have to find it on Twitter. It's hilarious. The guy said the dollar will never lose its reserve currency status. And this was almost 6 years ago. And I said, just watch what's being lined up, because I saw it's amazing to me that this was 8 years ago, but I saw it all happening, bridge currency, digitized of assets, real world, the whole nine. And now it's slowly starting to come to fruition. And I think, like you said, kind of get back to the point here, that we are at the tipping point, because innovation can't go anymore. It's breaking into mainstream production of things and how financial system works, and that it's showing it that it's better than the existing fiat currency.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that-
obviously, I see videos on Twitter and X, and listen to interviews and things. But that guy, I don't know about American politics at all, but that guy Tom Emmer, I've really loved watching that guy go at Gensler. It's been great to watch him. Okay, and Nick, we'll move on a little bit further. So 2017, you were in 2017. DeFi summer was pretty impressive. I got in just after DeFi summer. I came into crypto in May 2021. DeFi summer in 2020, whenever I come in, seen all the things that had happened previously, it looked like it was an awesome time to be here. The advances on Ethereum and DeFi between 2017 and 2021 were, in my opinion, astronomical. That the change in that time was crazy to see. Do you think that the change from 2021 to 2024 has been anything similar? Technology is supposed to exponentially accelerate in improvements. Do you see DeFi as having done that in the last 3 years, as it did like it did the previous 3?
So I have an interesting take on this. I think that the innovation hasn't accelerated more as much as the refining has. And I think that's more important than just more projects or more this and that. I think we saw, okay, liquidity, how can we kind of make that better? Okay, how do we make sure, like, the tokens are, like you said, you just showed that chart of the million tokens being minted. But and again, people get caught up in that craze. That's gambling through and through. Whether you like it or not, that's fine. Be a degen. I don't care, right?
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you what to do or what not to do. But when it comes to the innovation side, I think a lot of teams were on the sidelines. And again, if you look at today's superior technology companies, let's just call it Intel, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, Spotify, right? Let's just use those.
Google too, right?
Google, right? Those were not the first movers, but what they did do is they sat back, learned from the first mistakes, and then said, okay, let's raise a whole bunch of money. This is the path we're going to go, and we're going to hire all the talent in. And again, we can kind of go into what Ripple has done, that model. They've done that. They went and got every single person from BlackRock to Goldman Sachs to Rob Rosie, the treasurer. The people that are lined up on that team, they're primed to inject into mass adoption, right? Everyone tuning into this stream is so early still, and I know people are tired of hearing that, but you're just early, right? Until your grandmother talks about it and she sees it on her TikTok or anything like that, you're early. There's got to be a day-to-day use case.
Yeah, I mean, in XRP has an incredible use case. It's just, if you ever used their blockchain, and I don't know if anybody has the XRPL, I mean, it's like, it's as smooth as it gets. It's as smooth as Algorand. That's another one. You know, I'm not pushing the token or anything because I believe it's a different value, but these are some of the best chains out there. And so Ripple's integrating with all these banks and most likely going to replace Swift. And that's what I was curious about. You know, we can replace Swift with other tokens in essence, but if you're doing major deals, you have to off ramp through fiat, you know, from Brazil to America for 500 billion in real estate, right? I mean, that would take 5 years to get over here, and by the time the US dollar decreases and whatnot, XRP just smokes them on that, and that's why I think a lot of these people are going to go to that. And one thing I just wanted to ask you about, you know, with them becoming so partnered in with some of these banks globally, which is a good thing because there has to be some form. Everything can be decentralized, right? When it comes to mass adoption, in my opinion. Do you think that's a threat to Ripple, or could they change? And would that bring in CBDCs? Apparent, you know, when XRP gets across the pond or whatever you want to call it, right, to its destination, and a euro has to be, you know, converted for a digital euro, that would be the only thing that would concern me with the mass adoption of XRP is the influx of what could be CBDCs. What do you think about that, Brian, in your opinion?
So again, I've seen a lot of stuff lately, and I sometimes get on Twitter and you know, look at this stuff, and I'll make some comments and things like that. But a lot of people are missing, especially the people that say, oh, stable coins or CBD, any basic stable coin that's tied to a country's currency is not what XRP is going after. And this is where so many people miss this point. We brought up the thing about the million tokens, right? It has nothing to do with the ability or the technology advancements or anything like that. It has to do with liquidity. If something's not liquid, like let's say, you know, you have $500 and I want $600 worth of that. I now need to find somewhere else to get my other $100, and that person may charge me a premium to do so. This is slippage in trading, right? I want $600. There's only $500 available. And this is where probably most tokens will come to die, is the liquidity issue, right? People will stop. They'll get tired of paying slippage costs, and they'll get tired of the gambling game. XRP's mission from the get-go, yes, settlement of derivatives and things like that. But when you're talking about a bridge currency, it's the fact that I can send $500 million in, say, dollars to yen, and I don't need one buyer of yen to supply 500 million. I can break it down into chunks and say, okay, I can get 10 million from gold. I can get 10 million from that tokenized asset, 10 million from here. And it plays matchmaking, right? Until I get my 500 million in yen, because that's the final destination token I wanted. So people need the rippling effect that is built in natively to the XRP ledger is what that does. It plays matchmaker. So it says, okay, you want $1 million in gold, and I have $1 million in US dollars. Okay, that can be a pair. And it just keeps pairing until I get my full amount. So that's more of a globalized economy, to where I don't need a direct buyer and they're going to charge me a ridiculous premium, or they want to hold it overnight to make an interest rate. None of that. All that stuff's gone, right?
Hold it for years.
Yeah, hold it for years and say, okay, well, we'll facilitate that transfer, but you got to do this, this, and this now. It's like, no, I submit my offer and it starts matchmaking. It says, okay, you want some US dollars, here you go. The US dollar person wanted gold, it'll go find the gold, and it'll just be matchmaking. And this is, again, the reason why XRP is situated the way it is with Ripple, is that in order to have a global economy like that, you got to be in with the IMF. You got to be in with the global infrastructure. Bitcoin does not have that liquidity. I'm sorry, whatever anybody thinks, we're talking, the stock market alone is $7 trillion, right? So to be able to make massive transactions and movements like that, it's going to be really cool when it finally happens. But there's just a lot of things that I think and I was naive of this in the beginning as well, is that I thought, overthrow the government and this, it's great and all, but baby steps. If that's the way you think it's eventually going to go, you're not going to
It's just
start there.
sort of one of the questions that we actually had, and it leads quite into it quite nicely. We've got a range of DeFi investors. We've got Moon Boys and the ones who see the DeFi as a lifeboat and for self-sovereignty and getting away from government tyranny and all that kind of stuff. Where do you sit now then on that debate? Are you a Moon Boy, or are you trying to escape the government?
I'm not necessarily trying to escape the government as much as I just want to see actual change. I'm so tired of politicians coming. I mean, it started with like Barack Obama, and I know his whole thing was, change as in, diversity things. But when it comes to real change, both political party sides have been in cahoots forever, right? And they come on and they talk to their base and they say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But it's going to be the same old, right? When you're talking about drastic change, like decentralization is drastic change. It really is. I mean, it's like nothing the world has ever seen. That takes time. And that's one thing I think that I learned over these years, is that in 2017, when I thought I found gold, I struck gold with XRP, and I was like, this is it. This is the future. And just sitting there waiting for it to happen, you realize how slow the old legacy systems work and all this different stuff. So to answer your question, I'm not as degen as probably. I don't really like to gamble. I take calculated risk for sure. I mean, everybody takes calculated risk in their everyday life. So yeah, I would say I lean more towards.
I've been in business for a long time, and I've worked hard. We have a pretty successful business here in Ireland, and I've worked really hard all my life at different businesses, but I've worked hard to earn the money that I have. And I don't gamble at all in real life, but I've got to admit, I do love taking a punt on meme coins. I gotta say,
Yeah,
I'm somewhere, I kind of swinging from absolute moon boy to trying to build some good projects. But yeah, for me, I just see an opportunity, and why I decided to go like not full time, but to go deep into crypto. I just see an opportunity for myself to make enough to make the kind of money that can free me from. I've been working hard all my life, but I can like, literally make, if the plans go right, I can probably make more than I made in the last 10 years in the next couple of years. And I'm here to, I'm here to make money, and we're building up, I think, are good projects. Yeah. But, I'm in a very, very vast part of that scale, absolute DJ, and trying to build good projects for the space. And then I'm heavily in the pulse chain, and I want to bring value to that chain, Somebody's commenting there, Ali's all about those memes, but yeah, it's nice to catch somebody when you speak to so many people. You get a lot of people message you, go, I'm going to launch this. You've got to throw $100 at it,
Yeah, well, that's what I was just about to say. Is
Pepe,
am I saying I haven't joined in memes? Absolutely, but it's calculated risk. It's to the point where it's like, this thing is either going to zero here, it's going to bounce, and then also the percentage of your portfolio that you're playing with. I think that's my whole thing, is like, because I hate when governments are like, well, there's no financial there's no financial regulations and disclosures. I'm like, you think throwing a disclosure up in front of a meme coin is going to be the difference between somebody, making money or losing their money? No, it's a complete gamble from the beginning. Let them know, but let the people decide. If somebody wants to risk $500 and lose it, we're human beings. You should be allowed to do that. I just have a huge problem when the government starts coming in and saying, that's not safe for you, or don't do this, no. The government is for the people. It's whatever the people want.
They're concerned because they're behind. They're
Exactly.
asleep in America. The rest of the world wasn't asleep, but they've been asleep in America. And I think it was said, once it gets full on, 10 million jobs are going to be lost in this country alone. And then couple that with the AI that just started exploding this year. I mean, you can't 100 million, across the world, even more maybe. So it's time that the kids in these schools in America, I don't know about Ireland, Ali, but I was watching a video, El Salvador, Bitcoin as it may, whatever. But I mean, they're teaching these kids are like 11 years old, and they got their own seed phrases on their computers, because their government's currencies are completely inflated and deflated by every other major, first world country in the world, and so this gives them an edge, in my opinion, to be able to hand them these digital assets where they don't have to go to the bank and carry out a wheelbarrow full of cash worth $20 and get shot on the way home. I've heard these stories. One of my a professor of mine told me about some of these things in Cambodia when they were there. But so it's really interesting. Blockchain is, according to Rick Edelman, it's like one of the things he says is, it's fire the wheel, blockchain, internet, then blockchain technology as far as mankind's advancements so far, and that's just obviously a statement and then not to agree with or not agree with, but that's the power of the technology of the distributed ledger, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the thing I always tell people too, when it comes to the government and making decisions, when the government runs a zero deficit, they could tell me exactly what to do with my money. Okay, let's make that bet. When you run a zero deficit, you could tell me exactly how. I'll just give you my money at that point,
or at least try to run a zero deficit. I mean, try.
Yeah, I mean, just try not to give. I mean, we'll get into a whole off topic if I go that route. We'll just
think that there's that meme, and the meme that says the guys that are 5 trillion in debt are telling me what to do with my finances. I can't, that says it all. But look, Brian, are you so you've obviously stepped away from Swapsicle. Have you planned to get involved in any other projects, or are you involved in any other projects? Are you happy ticking along the way you are at the minute?
I'm happy and content with what I'm doing right now. I'm really starting to, because I was so involved in the growth of the DEX and just in building the products and doing that day to day, that you'd be surprised at how much I didn't really get to venture out that much into DeFi. On my show every Wednesday, we try to do DeFi dives where we go over projects, right? Because I'm actually
going to watch the one. I'm going to watch the one tomorrow on DBank. That sounds interesting. I haven't, again, for my portfolio stuff, I only started using it again. I used it a while ago and it had a few issues and things, but I've used it again a couple of times recently. And it's actually friggin' awesome at the minute. But I'll watch your stream. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'll watch your stream on that tomorrow. I'm interested to see what you have to say about it.
Yeah, and again, it's just having the time to sort of look at the things and evaluate it. I'm at a point in my life now where it's like, what is the hill that I want to die on? Let's put it that way. Because it's kind of coming into your midlife, and it's like, what is that thing that I'm willing to that's the hill I'll die on? And a DEX, although it was great, and again, we continued to innovate, and I learned a bunch about the space, and it'll be a great project. It'll continue on and do what it does with the buybacks and everything like that. It just wasn't the hill I wanted to die on, per se. And no, I'm a free agent right now. I would like to maybe get into, once we have more regulations, maybe more of an institutional, I want to make as big impact as I can with the most amount of people. Like, I tell people this all the time. One of the best analogies I can do, one of my good friends is a nurse, and she, talks about some of the in the problems they have. I mean, they're using fax. That's the most secure way to send information in the healthcare industry right now, right? But just imagine a world where somebody gets into an accident, right? And the EMT shows up and immediately starts a smart contract, starts putting in the data. This is this person's happening. Boom. It pings to the nearest hospital that this is going to. So immediately the hospital knows that this patient is on the way with all the breakdown of what's happening. The hospital can access that blockchain through their secure intranet. This is the problem with information right now, is that because hospitals, military, everybody has to be on a secure private intranet, which can't connect to other networks. Blockchains allow you to stay on your private network and have an intermediary and have that, right? So now patient goes to the hospital, nurse does their thing, updates it, doctor's notified, doctor comes in, does their thing, pharmacy, insurance, everybody has access to this immutable ledger of what the person in front of them did. And now all of a sudden you're making payments along it. Like, but again, that scenario I just painted to you is a complete overhaul. I mean, you're talking every industry on the planet just got affected by implementing blockchain in the healthcare industry, right? So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and the blockchain technology, it's bigger than cryptocurrency, right? That's what you're getting at, you know, and that's where the job thing is. This can be applied to every single profession, almost real estate, healthcare. When you're going to get a loan, takes months for underwriting, right? Everything is stamped, you're approved instantly. All right. So all these are going to be their own centralized databases. And that's the key to how special this technology is. And it just so happens that, you know, we can or can't make money in the meantime while they figure it out, you know, with the cryptographic currencies that are on there. So
Yeah, and again,
that's really a broader macro perspective that people need to realize, you know.
And again, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's what I can think of right now, right? That's somebody who just came up with email, right? You see people talk about email in the early days. They're like, well, there's an at symbol and the this and the that. That's where we're at with blockchain. There will be things that build upon each other that we can't even fathom today. Because our brain can only see, okay, this works with that. But if you were in 1992 and talking about Twitter, people are like, well, why? I don't care about your thoughts written down. I don't want to read them all the time. Like, you see how it's a complete mind shift or mindset shift into what the possibilities will come. Necessities then build off of those mindsets as well. And all of a sudden, you need things differently than you did before.
Yeah, people don't realize that Bank of America, JP Morgan, they have hundreds of patents on different types of blockchain technologies they've been working on forever. And some of them will be used for good purposes. Yeah, of course, right? And some of them may not be, or we don't know, or whatever, but that's still evolving. But whatever they tell you, don't do this, don't do that, just do the opposite pretty much. And
yeah, see, one of our team members there in the comments, Brian, said, Brian, with your knowledge and vision, you're made for large scale change in our financial system. Seriously, he's loving what you're talking about. But look, our own Blaze protocol, you know, we're launching fully decentralized, no admin keys, fair launch, no founder pre-allocation. Kind of what we see is real DeFi. You know, when it launches, everyone's going to have the same opportunity to participate. No one's going to be at the mercy of founders changing parameters, switching plans, or rug pulling, anything like that, which is a lot of things that are very frustrating for crypto investors. So what do you think of this type of fair launch? And what is real DeFi to you?
So that sort of changed for me over the years. I used to think it was just decentralization was just the validation of the network itself. Did anybody have control of the network, whether it's through validators or, like you said, holding a majority of the supply? I think a lot of people they're sort of not on the fence, but they see it from two different perspectives, right? It's like, well, if the team doesn't own a whole bunch and everybody, it's kind of democratized, right? I think sometimes we use the word decentralized when we could almost use the word democratized. It's a fair, democratized, and we'll see how it goes. Then I worked for a DEX and I said, at the end of the day, you still need somebody driving the engine, right? The mechanics of how you earn rewards, that can all be set, but you still got to make relationships. You still got to have somebody there. And it's great when you have established DAOs who can then vote and say, okay, Ali, I want you to be head of business development, right? I work a 9 to 5 or whatever they do. Like, I like this investment, but it's not my full-time job. I still need somebody steering the ship. And I think that's where people are starting to say, okay, decentralization of the technology is the key. Make sure the tokens are distributed fairly. Make sure that the network is secure, the smart contracts, all the technical things. But at the end of the day, are we really going to give up the captain of the ship centralization aspect? I don't think we should, because I think that's what makes us human, and that's what makes us have good relationships, right?
Yeah,
if you guys don't do this and you're just Blaze, well, okay, but you guys in your beliefs and what you want out of the project and the vision you have for it, I think is essential in success of projects, because if you don't have a captain steering the ship, it's going to go a whole bunch of different ways. People start giving up on it and they'll say, hey, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And it kind of crumbles, right? So centralization for me, the only thing that should stick around is the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, our protocols will be fully decentralized, but at the end of the day, we're still going to be here engaging with community, and like you mentioned before, I'm not sure if it was in the green room, but once you've launched a project, you've got to keep people engaged. You've got to keep on building on top. You got to keep moving, keep innovating. For us as a project, we already have what's coming next. See, even on your decks, you've got the NFTs and things. We have an NFT project that ties in with it, and then we have a couple of different forks coming. So yes, the project, the protocols will be fully decentralized once they're launched, but there will be things built on top each time to continue innovating on top of what we're building. So look, we're closing up to the hour mark. It's been a great conversation so far. Have you anything, just any closing remarks or anything you'd like to say or talk about just before we close up and go into our giveaway?
I mean, gosh, there's so many things. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I love doing this stuff. I mean,
thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, this is what I enjoy doing. And again, everybody's like, "What are you going to do next? What are you going to do that?" I don't know. I'm going to get in front of a mic and talk about crypto, because it's what I enjoy to do, and I think it's super important to have knowledge about this stuff. You don't have to commit your life to it. You don't have to be obsessed over it. Even though a lot of people, once they get involved, they have that, effect. It has that effect because it's for the first time people feel as if they're involved again. We lost it for a while, whether it was celebrities advertising and all this stuff. We sort of all got removed from decision making. The governmental handled that, and everybody kind of just sat back. And when Facebook came out, it's free. Why wouldn't you want to use it? It's like, yeah, but they're using your data, right? Yeah. You are the product. So they're in Facebook was able to see into the future that data will be the key. It's not about charging people a membership. We want their data. We want their thoughts. We want whatever it is about them, because that is what is going to control it. You look at now, 10, 15 years later, you see how all algorithms are built around that. If you like something, it always remembers that. And it's like, I just feel so invasive sometimes that, I just,
your phone picks up what you talked about yesterday. Your phone picks up what you were saying, and all of a sudden it's in your feed, something crazy. It's just, it's very invasive and self-custody, right? What we're getting at, where you're going in a way, we're in control again with our self-custody in a sense with these digital assets.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good. That was just the last thing I did want to touch on is that, when you talk about, is there too many projects, right? The reason I say no in the very beginning is because we're all still kind of figuring this out. The cream will rise to the top for sure. But I think in the beginning, it's important to give people options more than Democrat and Republican. Give them thousands of options. Make them critically think. Make them question, do I like this DEX? Do I like the vision that they're going? And challenge the builders and the innovators in the space to say, this is what we want. This is what we expect out of a protocol. Because the more that are out there, it's easier to say, I like what they did, but I don't like what they did, right? So don't do that. So when you have more actors in the space, you have a better way to kind of understand what's happening, and you can see the bigger overall picture. So then you can, pick and choose your kind of winners and losers better that way than just saying, oh, well, Apple created it, so I either like them or I don't. I think having the options is good. But again, I know I'm different than most people. I get that. I'm different than most people, and I respect everybody's opinion when it comes to things like that. I just think
I love talking to people about crypto, and after a while they start walking backwards from you. They're like, oh, yeah.
No, that's not crypto, mate. That's just you.
It is. No, it's just. But then they come around, and they're next year, and we'll see who's laughing, right? At the top of the bull.
All my in real life friends, they're like, I hope that crypto thing it's down again or whatever. It's like, yep, buying.
Yeah.
And then when it's up again, they'll be like, oh, so you bought it down? Yeah. And the cycle repeats over and over and over again. And I do think, and again, this may be a hot take, but I think there's one more run. There's one more run. Whether it's as high as they've been in the past, I think you got one more. And then that was
actually one of the questions that we had that I never even put in to ask you. I'm really glad you said that, because there's one of the guys in our team put that question in the list, was about just about that. Do you think this is the last big blow off run? So we'll take that as the last thing said. But
I will say this:
clip that, and we'll play that in 2 years' time.
There you go. But I will say this, like you pointed out, you're going to have more capital coming in for sure, but it's obviously got more avenues to go now. Will it be as concentrated, things like that? And I really think that if you're in the right things, because if you look at what happened in the .com bubble, there was tons of stocks, but there were some major winners, and in the institutions and the people kind of running things and in the vision they had for it, there was winners and there was losers, right? So I think it'll be more like that, where not all boats are going to rise this time. I think people are going to start getting serious about the money, and they're going to want to see, I mean, you used to be able to get away with a white paper back in the day, raise a whole bunch of money off of white paper. That's gone, as it should be, right? Prove to me what you got. Let's build something here. And again, it's no different than every other business, right? If you go into a business and you like the atmosphere, you like what they do, you like their rules, it's going to be successful. And then there will be some businesses, again, that just fail, and it's okay. But again, users just need to do their research and understand what they're getting themselves into. But don't call everybody a scam if they just suck at business. Some people just suck at business. They didn't set out to scam you. They just suck.
That's the exact reason that I'm building projects. I remember, and I have an NFT project over on Pulse Chain, and it's kind of a long-term vision for it over the next year and a half. But I remember whenever I got into crypto in 2021, 2022, just seeing, because I've been in business a long time, and seeing some of the absolute crap that people were making money of is just like, geez, I can do far better than that. But look, we'll call it a day there at the minute. We're gonna do our $1,000 of ETH giveaway. Do you want to hang around, or would you like the split?
I actually do have to run. I'm sorry, guys. I'm running up on time here, but I really do appreciate everything.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, man, thank you. We really appreciate it. And as we move forward in this evolution of cryptocurrencies, we'll get you back on. You got something going on, hit us up too. We'll share it on here. We're doing the weekly blaze, So, and we're going to be doing this for a long time. So, stay connected with us if you want to share something or whatever.
Absolutely. And likewise, guys, I mean, you're totally welcome on my show. I do a stream every Wednesday. So you guys come on, especially once you guys launch, because that's really kind of the focus of the channel, is to, display the platforms, walk through it, have the founders on there, kind of give key insights and things like that. So again, keep up the great work, guys. Thanks, people brother. In this space talking about it, the better. Take care, and thanks everybody for tuning in, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
All right, cheers, man. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Woo! All right. All right, what a great guy.
Get my screen up there, will you?
Okay, your screen. All right, here you go, buddy.
Another. I can't believe we're doing this fucking week after week. Another $1,000 of ETH to give away. So this week we to enter the competition, you had to create a 30 to 45 second video of why you're bullish on Blaze. I think we had about 20 people enter. We had Praise Light. Who else? We have the Mo done one. Said that if he won, he would give the money away. I don't know who he was going to give it to. Probably you could have just give it back to me, Mo. Maybe a last minute Mo wins and has to give the money straight to me.
Stray Ox did several videos.
He's been awesome.
Mello did videos. Just a great thing to see everyone with their creative talents. Like Baby Dragon's on here.
James's big mug in the screen.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Who else do I have? Where was Mello? Yeah, just a lot of people that are really helping us with our, just with community engagement. Mo, Shrey, Mello, there's loads of guys that are really helping us a lot, and they all put in videos this week. But look, let's cut to the chase. Justin, do you want to play the winner? The winners this week is kind of obvious who we're all rooting for.
I mean, wow, Praise Light. You guys forget about it. We're happy and we're honored that you did that, and you're the winner, and we're going to play your video, we're grateful for you guys, and we wish you only the best, and over there in the other part of the world, and it's special to be able to build these relationships in this Web3 space that we're in. So here's your video.
Everybody I showed this to, it put a smile on their face.
Oh yeah, I showed it to my family. They're loving it. All right, so we're gonna play it for you right now. Praise, and whatever you do, just before so don't forget, don't post your address. Okay, we'll DM you. All right, we'll DM you, buddy. All right, so let me fire this up for everybody to see. Great job.
I am only jumping, only jumping, only jumping, only jumping. Make play with guitar, step plays and any. Innovative device project, transparent team of some community. Blizzards of mass supply of tokens, place tokens display on the daily, making them increase in the sky. It has a fire bond feature. Only jumping, only jumping. Only jumping, only jumping, only jumping, only jumping, only jumping, only jumping.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I've been busting the team's balls for weeks to get us an intro video, so I think we'll be able to use that for the next few weeks at least. Great job, absolutely brilliant job.
Praise light. I mean, that's viral material right there, brother. And when we go viral with Blaze, it's you're gonna see some things. You might see your face on a lot of different places. So congratulations again, and we really appreciate you all and your friends taking the time to do that. It's heartwarming, and congratulations.
Ooh. Okay, so just before we wrap up as well, we got another test net today. We deployed another new test net today, and it is go in and check the Telegram chat. We're days, not weeks. There's a running commentary now that it's there's no 2 more weeks. So things are looking great, guys. We should be it's definitely going to be less than 2 weeks now. So days, not weeks.
Yeah, and thank you everyone in who's watching in the chat and everything, and making comments. We see you, and we're grateful that you're there too. So, and we'll have our updates coming out soon. So get ready, folks.
That's awesome. All right, guys. See you next week.
Cheers, everybody.